because we're going to need more merino wool because the government's going to dim the sun because of climate change.
I shouldn't laugh because this is a real idea that they've got.
They're going to pepper the planet, or pepper the Britain, with poison.
And how are you going to power the country? Oh, we're going to do it with solar panels.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yep. Now, I know many moons ago, you and I had a conversation about climate change, and I said it's just a scam, right? It's worse than a scam. It's a cover for genocide. They're robbing us of energy. They're going to rob us of sunlight. They're going to deposit aluminium salts and God knows what else all over the land. What's that going to do to the insect life? What's that going to do to the bird life? What's that going to do to the plants? What's it going to do to the food chain? What's it going to do to us?
They certainly don't care about climate change, do they? If you look at their
actions about climate change,
these people who are flying around the world in their private jets fighting climate change, they're all pro-war. They're all pro-Ukraine war. Nearly all of them. They're all pro, bombing Gaza. They're all pro cooing everywhere else for resources for profit, because that's what it comes down to, for profit. But no, they're still going along with this rubbish that it was an unprovoked attack by Russia. It was unprovoked and it was an act of aggression. And it's like your own goddamn prime minister has come out and said, it's a proxy war. It's a proxy war between us and Russia, and it always was. And we have basically led those Ukrainians, 500,000 of them, to their deaths in a meat grinder. Why? Because money. Goebbels warned us about this, didn't he? When he said, you tell a lie often enough, it becomes truth. He wasn't talking about the German propaganda machine. He was talking about the BBC.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes a duty. So said Thomas Jefferson. Go to bit.ly/lawful tax protest or bit.ly/make war history and find out why it is a criminal offence to pay central government or local government taxes in the UK. And let's make war history. It's Friday the 25th of April 2025. I'm joined by independent journalist and friend, Mr. Gordon Dimmack. And what shirt are you wearing today, Gordon?
Oh, it's another... I've got about 20 of these.
What is that one?
It's just a Thailand Muay Thai shirt. I bought I like, if I like one thing, I tend to get like 20 different colours, and there you go. That's what I use.
20, not like Barack Obama, the same suit.
No. I don't think I have anything in tan either, so I'm all right.
All right, because I was thinking, is he his Wolverhampton shirt or his Bitcoin shirt?
No. I live in these things. I really do. I absolutely live in them.
No worries.
I'm either in these going to the gym, or I'm in these with my pajama bottoms.
Yeah. Well, I am wearing these merino tops, right? Merino wool hooded top, because we're going to need more merino wool because the government's going to dim the sun because of climate change.
I shouldn't laugh because this is a real idea that they've got.
It's really fucked up. It's really fucked up. I've noticed in the last few weeks, where I am in the southeast of England, since Trump cut funding for USAID, there's been much fewer chemtrails. Like, we've had days and days and days of blue sky without any chemtrails. And before, there used to be regular chemtrails. Now, I'm not saying that's the case all over the UK, but certainly in the southeast where I am, much fewer chemtrails. So they will start them up again with this £50 million worth of funding. So they'll spray the sky with aluminium and other pollutants, and in order to create cloud to dim the sun to save us. They're going to pepper the planet, or pepper the Britain, with poison.
And how are you going to power the country? Oh, we're going to do it with solar panels.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yep. Now, I know many moons ago, you and I had a conversation about climate change, and I said it's just a scam, right? It's worse than a scam. It's a cover for genocide.
Well,
they're robbing us of energy. They're going to rob us of sunlight. They're going to deposit aluminium salts and God knows what else all over the land. What's that going to do to the insect life? What's that going to do to the bird life? What's that going to do to the plants? What's it going to do to the food chain? What's it going to do to us?
They certainly don't care about climate change, do they? If you look at them,
about climate change.
These people who are flying around the world in their private jets fighting climate change, they're all pro-war. They're all pro-Ukraine war. Nearly all of them. They're all pro, bombing Gaza. They're all pro cooing everywhere else for resources, for profit, because that's what it comes down to, for profit. The world's reserve currency is based upon the very thing that they say is driving us to extinction. I mean, if that's the case, then maybe you shouldn't have the world's reserve currency based upon that commodity. But no, it is. It's the number one industry in the world. The fossil fuel industry is. So yeah, they don't care about climate change. So I see no reason why I should listen to them when they say we should.
Gordon, it's worse than that. They don't care about us, and what they do care about is killing us off.
Well, if you're going to have robotics make all your stuff, there's going to be a lot of workers there that are not needed, right? Just what do they call them? Useless mouths or useless feeders?
Useless feeders, useless eaters. Yeah, but what they do care about is their own survival. What they do care about is control. And maybe we'll touch upon this. We've got a slow rolling monetary collapse, which is actually accelerating in the UK and the European Union. And when currencies collapse, there's revolutions. So they've got to get the CBDCs in before all that happens. But also, if you reduce the population while you maintain your own power and control, well, less people are less of a threat. You reduce the number of ants, then you're not going to be overtaken by the ants. So climate change is a cover for a mass culling. They're going to dim the sun, deprive us of vitamin D. I wouldn't be surprised if they say we can't have vitamin D supplements anymore because of the planet, right? And at the same time, the promise of solar panels, which weren't going to deliver anyway, well, they ain't going to work. But you don't need so much energy generation when the population is significantly smaller. I interviewed the bowler hat farmer. He's a fruit and veg wholesaler and a farmer. And I haven't posted that video on my channel yet, right? But he was saying to me, I knew some of this. He was saying to me, all the policies the government are putting in place, that's reducing our food supply. And he says it's like they put something in. Let's say they do 50 policies, which each have a 0.5%. Or they do 100 policies, which each has a 0.5% detriment on our food productivity. Well, that's half the food supply gone. So here's what they're doing. Solar panels on prime agricultural land. Paying farmers twice what they could get for growing wheat. So he said to me, an acre of wheat will give maybe on average about £160 an acre. But the farmer's got to do a lot of work to generate that 160 quid. The government's paying farmers £300 an acre not to grow food, just to leave it fallow. So the farmer doesn't need to spend the time or the diesel or the effort or the energy. He just lets it grow. £300 an acre, way more profitable. So they're being paid not to grow food. Then there's the bird flu epidemic. You know how wonderful the PCR test is, how accurate the PCR test is. So you use the PCR test to say the chicken's got bird flu. Well, then you can cull chickens by the millions. And that's what Biden was doing in the United States. That led to an increase in egg prices. Then in Ireland, and they want to do this in the UK, in Ireland they want to cull a third of the cattle. In the UK they want to cull the livestock. I don't know how much. Because of cow farts. They're giving cows bovia, which is a poisonous compound, but what it does, it stops the cows from farting because of the environment. But it also reduces their life expectancy. It reduces their milk product, the amount of milk, and the cows don't want to eat it, and it's poisonous for human beings and possibly poisonous for the soil. Then he told me what they do, I forget the name of the company, a big milk company that own Arla.
I've heard about this, Muller,
that's right. They stopped collecting the milk.
Yeah.
So the farmers they still have to milk the cows twice a day, and they have to pour the milk away. It's not being collected. And he said to me, if a farmer's got 10,000 litres a day, it's costing them £10,000 a day on lost revenue. Never mind the energy that they're not getting any return on, the time and the effort. And then
they can't even give this milk away because it's against the law. They'll go to prison if they give it away.
Yeah.
They can't sell it themselves because they're contracted to Muller, and Muller haven't given it up until the couple of days ago when I saw the one farmer talking about it, or a couple of them actually. They weren't even told whether they were going to get paid or not, or under contract, because they're literally having to open the taps and just let it drain away. So yeah, they don't know whether they're going to get paid, and they haven't been told why either. They've heard that it's some sort of technical fault, but that's like along the grapevine. Nobody at Muller has come out and said to them, "This is what the problem is." They just shut off collecting the milk.
Yeah, and then so then those farmers are going out of business. Farmers are being paid something like £100,000 as a one-off payment by the government to retire. Then there's the inheritance tax, but that's a tax that's going to be paid on property, on an asset that doesn't. They're not cash rich. They have very small margins, so they actually have to sell the asset in order to pay the tax on the asset, and then they have nothing. And then there's the loss of knowledge, the loss of experience, the loss of generational wisdom. Then there's the planning bill that's going through Parliament now, which will allow local councils, cash-strapped local councils, to buy land and property compulsorily buy it below market prices and then sell it on at commercial prices. Well, then local authorities can make money that way. Then housing. They're gonna want to build more and more homes on agricultural land, greenbelt land, for the immigrants that they have brought in, rather than
if you want to build houses on greenbelt land, I've got a perfect solution for you. In fact, George Carlin had it about 25 years ago. It's called golf courses. No, they won't do that, will they?
Gordon, it's not that. You got to send the illegals back. There's no work. It's just a recipe for conflict, divide and rule, destroying English culture, making white people second-class citizens, promoting Muslims above all else, just to create conflict. I mean this.
I can't see them doing that. I can't see them promoting Muslims.
Going in that direction.
Yeah.
It's going in that direction. It's like the early signs, right? And I'm in this crazy situation, Gordon. Here I am, right? A former member of the anti-apartheid movement, right? Advocating for equal rights for Africans in South Africa. And now I'm like, well, we need to give equal rights to white people here.
Yeah, when they stop supporting genocide against Muslims, then I'll believe that they are promoting Muslims above all.
No, they're not promoting Muslims because they care about Muslims. They're promoting Muslims in order to facilitate more genocide, in order to facilitate more conflict. I was working in a city a few years ago. I was working in a city 2 hours away. I'd stay 1 or 2 nights away. And it got to a point, and the local authority would pay for me to stay in a hostel, or a hotel. It got to a point I couldn't get rooms in the usual hotels.
Well, don't you think you're being a little bit
homophobic, racist?
Well, you've called them all Muslims.
They're mostly Muslims. You think, well, you look at where they're coming from, and
why are they coming from those countries?
Albania.
Now, come on, are there really that many Albanians coming into this country, Rich?
My objection to them is not where they're coming from. I get the thing about them coming from war-torn countries, and we shouldn't do that, right?
But Albania's not war-torn.
Sorry? Albania's not war-torn, but Syria and Iraq and all of that. I get all that. My point is they're not being vetted. There isn't the work for them. My point is that resources are being directed towards them, and it's a deliberate divide and rule policy by the British imperial elite, who are experts at divide and rule. In India, they would get Muslims to police Hindu areas. They'd get Hindus to police Muslim areas. They didn't care about either of those people. They don't care about Muslims. Then was it them Labour Party talking about we want to make Islamophobia illegal? Fuck off. You don't care about Muslims. You just want to stir resentment.
Well, isn't feeding into that and saying how dangerous it is to have all these Muslims come in, isn't that doing exactly what they want? And if what they want is to divide us, when you and I know there's no problem with Muslims at all.
Yeah, no problem with Muslims, right? I'm Muslim. I don't have a problem with Muslims. What I have a problem with is the open borders, the UN replacement program, which Britain has signed up to.
which it's been they've put it through. Basically, what they're saying is there's going to be some sort of UN sanctuary somewhere like Rwanda 2.0, where any countries who have rejected asylum seekers, they go to this UN country. I find it interesting that these people who are coming over from on the boats have all got nice new shiny orange life jackets on now.
Yeah, who's paying for that?
Well, I think it's pretty much obvious that the British government are shipping them in
through NGOs. That's what I object to, because what I see is them being deposited all over the country, competing with local poor people for scant resources, because it isn't like the government's being generous to the poor here, right? And then that's going to have a knockback on me. I'm integrated into this society, been here for many, many years. And, my parents were vetted. My dad had a job when he came here. The economy was expanding. I wouldn't want Pakistan to suddenly, like what's happened in Ireland, 20% of the population is now mostly Muslim all of a sudden, last few years. I wouldn't want Pakistan to face an increase of 20% people in the absence of economic growth, unvetted, mostly men.
That's the EU to blame for that. That's Brexit basically that stopped that legal immigration, if you like.
No, it's not Brexit. It's the UN replacement program that Britain has signed up to, as the European Union. Which is why all these nations, the same nations that did lockdown, have these open borders. That's the connection. We are the Great Reset. They are out to destroy us. It's full on total war from every conceivable angle, right? The trans agenda, the climate change agenda, war with Russia, right? The destruction of food and farming, because they're doing that in Ireland. They're doing it in Europe. The farmer said to me, he said, in the wholesale markets, there's 70% less food circulating now in the wholesale markets than there was before lockdown. Food prices are going to go through the roof. That's a recipe for famine. And then you're bringing in more people. Well, then that just results in more conflict. And then through conflict, you can justify greater authoritarian measures. So Tony Blair comes out and says, oh, we need digital ID to tackle illegal immigration.
Come on, he's been saying that ever since I can remember. I mean,
he has been saying that, and it's getting closer and closer.
He's been jabbering on about it ever since. He tried to get it through, if I remember, and failed when he was Prime Minister. It's
getting closer and closer because it's essential for the CBDC to work. It's essential for their control grid to work. CBDCs, biometric IDs, and then we're enslaved. Now, that's the direction. They're not going to win. They're going to do a lot of damage before it's all over. Penny for your thoughts, Gordon. Oh, and there's a bit more as well, by the way. There's a bit more. So let me just add to it right before you give me your penny for your thoughts. So the sanctions against Russia included sanctioning urea and fertilizer from Belarus and Russia. So fertilizer prices have gone through the roof. Then the new climate and nature bill, second reading in July. Food coming in, anything coming in, they have to look at its carbon footprint. And if its carbon footprint is too high, it can't come in. So we're reducing the food productivity here, and then going to use that as a device to limit food imports. Now who's in charge of all this? The same people that killed 20 million Indians, the same people that killed God knows how many Irish people with the potato famine, bringing potatoes into the UK while they're starving Irish people. It's the same people. The same ruthless British imperial elites. Then the assault on hydrocarbons. Well, how are you going to make fertilizers without gas? You need gas. You need petrochemicals to make petrochemical fertilizers. And if you kill off the livestock, you can't use their poo either. So you don't have either as an option. They're both reduced. Then the increase in regulations, more and more regulations for farmers, more and more tedious, nonsensical regulations that take away from their productivity. What else is there? I think that's quite enough. It's a full-on assault
It's bloody depressing, is what it is.
It is. It really is. It really, really is. It's like the
Bloody
fuck.
depressing.
It is depressing, and we don't notice it because the mainstream media don't talk about it. And anybody who does talk about it, they're going to risk greater censorship. Then, my for BitChute's not available in the UK anymore. I have to switch my VPN to Ireland or the US. It's all right in Ireland. It's not okay in the UK, right? But they're going to make it harder and harder for us to communicate with each other. And then they're going to offer us controlled opposition, like I suspect Nigel Farage is. And it is out to kill us off. and as technology changes, we go from sticks and spears to bows and arrows, then to muskets, and then to pit rifles, and then to tanks, and then to aeroplanes. And now, injections, information, chemicals, keeping us stupid. Imperial elites gonna do what imperial elites do.
They'll have a tough time. They'll have a tough time if this is their aim. They'll have a tough time because people here who can leave will leave.
Oh, at some point they're going to stop people from leaving.
We'll see about that.
Well, that's their plan. Part of the Great Reset.
They're not going to stop this. So this is the overreach. And you've been saying this ever since I've known you. It's the overreach that's going to cost them. So it's this overreach of power, which is what's going to be their downfall. I say bring it on. Really, I do. I say bring on all what you said there. Bring it all on, because I'm fascinated to see what people will put up with now. It's actually gone past the point with me now where I really care about it, and I try to get other people involved and other people excited and to care about it too. Because the truth of the matter is, mate, they don't. They really don't. If you speak to them, I know one young lady she's got 2 daughters, or 2 children anyway, 2 young children. And one of my friends, somebody I know, was explaining to her how the NHS has been sold off and all about, what we've learned from Dr. Bob Gill. And the reaction was, oh, that's a shame, isn't it? It's like you realise the NHS is going to be sold off, it's going to be privatised, you're going to have an American-style healthcare system where it's for profit instead of for everyone. And the reaction was, oh, that's a shame, isn't it? And at that point, a little bit, when I heard about this, a little bit broke inside me. I was like, people just don't care. They'll put up with anything. And you look at what people put up with during lockdown. Jimmy Dawes got a great joke. And I remember it happening to me. It wasn't, the best jokes are always true. I remember it happened to me. I went into my local pub, and you got to wear your face mask, and you got to sign in, and you got to do the thing. And then you went and sat down and took your mask off as if COVID only got you above that height. And we spoke to the staff, and she said, what is this nonsense? And the staff are just like, give me a break, man. I'm at home on my own. I haven't seen my mom or my little baby sister for 3 months because we've been on lockdown, and I had a choice, either go out and work or stop at home. And I don't need this. And because people are in their own little bubbles, and they're wrapped up in their own lives, and have got their own shit to deal with, they're just like, whatever. Can I get my paycheck at the end of the month and pay, so I can pay my rent? And I'm fascinated as to how far people are going to let them take them here. And I'm kind of watching it now, almost as an observer, as if to say, you crazy people, I keep looking outside my window. No pitchforks yet? No pitchforks, right? Okay. Still no, not after Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein trafficked children to nobody, and you've not got any questions about that whatsoever. You've got no questions about the way that this country is going, 100% behind a literal apartheid state that's doing a genocide right now with your money, literally ruining the reputation of your country for generations to come on a global scale, just at the point when we need all of our friends around the world, because it looks like the world's going to go to shit and trade's going to be really difficult and food's going to be scarce, like you say. We rely on imports. We're not self-contained like Russia. But no, people will only care when it affects them.
Yes. Well,
And once they're starving, then you might get a reaction. And I'm literally just sitting here now and I'm waiting. Like, how far are you going to let people push you? Because I'm fine. I've got no money, but I'm rich. I'm rich beyond most people's wildest imagination, if you ask me. I've got a roof over my head, got whatever food I want in my belly. I've got a wonderful, wonderful family who's supportive of me, a great wife, and we basically, I get to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and live a happy life. I'm rich beyond most rich people's wildest dreams. You get to do what he wants, really. He's got nobody telling him what to do. Nobody, no hoops he's got to go. No. And that's really all I'm interested in now, and just watching the world go to shit and see everybody's lives and everybody's future. These are people with children. Remember, I haven't got kids. I don't have to worry about the next generation. But some reason those people with kids just don't, and I'm fascinated with how far they're going to let these people who are in power and who have been in power since the year dot. I'm fascinated to see how far that they will let them drag them into the abyss.
Well, I think it takes only 3% of the population to cause a revolution. We don't need everybody. I think what we have in our favor is decentralized media. This is going to go out on ODYSEE. It'll be on YouTube as well. It'll be on 3Speak. It'll be on X. It'll be on BitChute, which is decentralized, right? So, and it'll be on Rumble, which is centralized. So this form of communication, this form of awareness raising. I mean, Gordon, I got a little confession to make. Hope you don't mind. So much as I really, really enjoy our conversations. And by and large, you and I politically are kindred spirits. We're on the same page. Yeah, we want the best for all people.
Everything before the word "but" is horseshit.
I don't think I've said "but."
You're not yet, but it's coming.
No. Okay. I'm well warned.
However,
one of the reasons, just to pause. One of the reasons, right, that I want to carry on doing videos with you is to get my word out, because you've got a really large audience, and you may have thought that, I'll go on Crypto Rich's little ODYSEE channel with his 5,000 subs, right, or whatever, right? But you and I working together this way, cross-fertilizing, gets the word out. And that you and I do, we do have, we're willing to listen to each other. We've learned from each other. I've learned from you. You learned from me, right? And I think the other thing is a really great example of what's possible when there's actually free-flowing debate, right?
That's why I love our conversation so much as well, because it comes from a place of respect. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah. So then it gets the word out, and we're not the only ones doing this. I'd invite you if you wanted to. I can connect you with the bowler hat farmer. You can have him on your channel, right? Do an interview with him. We just need to he's touring the country right now doing these talks, because that's a way of bypassing mainstream media. And more people are becoming disillusioned with mainstream media. And I think more and more people are seeing through the lies. And I think this thing with dimming the sun, well, wait a minute, you said we have to have solar panels, and now you're going to dim the sun. Is this really about climate change?
We've got 12 days of sun every year in this fucking country. Mate, it's like we spend way too high a percentage of our lives complaining to each other just how miserable the weather is, and now they want to make it duller. What they're going to do next? Are they going to shut Greggs? Is that they're going to make the FA Cup final pay-per-view? What are you going to do next? And people will take it by the look of it as well.
I don't know if you know, because you're a football fan, if you know about the football bill that's going through.
I don't know anything about a football bill going through.
Okay, so I interviewed Claire Fox, and she's really hot on that. I haven't looked at it much. I just looked at it very briefly, right? This government, I bet, and if anybody's watching, they know more, they can put this comment. I bet they're using the football bill in order to regulate football, make it tighter, so you have top-down control, so they can impose their fucking DEI, transgender, climate change nonsense as a way of destroying it. Because one of the things about football, it's where working class people congregate in large numbers, and they're free to associate. The great thing about lockdown from the elite point of view is it prevented us from associating. And that's why I think underneath the assault on pubs, no smoking in gardens in pubs. It'll destroy pubs. Look, I don't smoke. I don't like it. I get headaches. But if somebody wants to smoke in the garden and hang out with their non-smoker friends who are perfectly fine being there, great. But what it does, it stops the sharing of information. People can't be surveilled. They want to atomize us. They want to keep us separate. They want us fighting with each other, not related and connected with each other.
Before pretty much every revolution in British history, I'm pretty sure the plannings of those revolutions all took place in taverns. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Just a thought. But going back to the other thing, the trans agenda, isn't that over now? The Supreme Court has told Keir Starmer what a woman is.
They're still gonna try and push it. Keir Starmer, I was thinking about this before I talked, right? What has the government actually done where they've given in to public pressure? I can't think of anything where they've changed policy because of public pressure.
There hasn't been any public pressure, really.
No, but previous governments would have. This government,
I don't know. I mean,
Southport riots.
You look at how many. Yeah, you say Southport riots, right?
I mean, I shouldn't have protested.
Yeah,
they came down so heavy on that. They came down so heavy on that.
Yeah, but I mean, there were way more people in the street for Palestine over the last 2 years.
Yeah, they haven't given in,
and they haven't changed a damn thing on that. In fact, there was one minister who came over last week, and there were some lawyers who were drawing up an arrest warrant for him, and he was going to cut his trip short, and David Lammy assured him no, they were going to reject it. So they're protecting these people who are doing a genocide now. That they haven't changed at all, no, and the weight of favour towards Palestine now is, it's getting ridiculous, the amount of support, and still, no, the media won't even, they'll two sides of the Palestine issue where, it's these people say this and these people say this, or you decide. But when it comes to any other conflict, for instance, Ukraine, they know exactly who's to blame, and that's Russia, and they've got no problem with pointing the finger of blame at Russia, even though actually, when you look at history, it's much further back than February 2022 or whatever it is. This goes back decades to the fall of the Berlin Wall, if you really want to.
Hundreds of years.
Tell the story.
Hundreds of years. But my point is, Keir Starmer, I can't think of a single example where Keir Starmer's government has given into public pressure over any particular issue and reverse course. The cuts in for the heating allowance for the elderly, they carried on with that, cutting disabled benefits at the same time as they're giving money to Zelensky. So they don't. They've got this unassailable majority, and they're all appointees. These aren't people who've come up grassroots. These are professional career politicians, right? They're going to do centre offices, Labour HQ's bidding. Now, I don't know where I got onto this, right? But there is going to be more and more protest, because as people become more and more, it becomes more and more uncomfortable. Like I saw it, say, with the lockdown protests, they did grow in number. They got larger and larger and larger and larger and larger. I wasn't going to take the injection, but then let's say somebody next to me had the injection, got hurt. They came in the lockdown protest, and so did some of their friends who'd had the injection and saw them got hurt. And then somebody had a second injection, they got hurt. They joined the lockdown protests. And so it grew and grew and grew and grew, right? And as people, because the other thing the government is doing is they're destroying small businesses deliberately. The change, I sent you that little video about the changes to I don't know if you watched it or listened to it, right? But the increase in minimum wage and the increase in employer contributions, national insurance contributions, means that for a small business, it's going to cost them double to employ a young person. And in that video, the guy makes the point that what it will target particularly are restaurants and cafes. So then we don't have access to that as a food resource. And in the background, what they're doing, and you'll see the conversation growing over time, is talking about us eating insects as a climate-friendly form of sustenance, when actually it's poisonous for human beings. You like prawns?
I love prawns.
I like prawns, right? You take the skin off, right? That skin's chitin or chitin. You can't take it off an insect. It just ends up cooking, and we don't eat it because it's poisonous.
So I gather you are a little bit wary when it comes to you thinking that if we eat bugs, we will be able to change the weather. Are you telling me that that's because if you're saying that you don't believe that eating bugs will change the weather, then I don't know what to say to you, mate. It sounds like you're a crazy person to me.
I'm a climate denier. There's no such thing as climate. I deny the climate. I deny the climate. And then I saw something today on X about how BlackRock, when Larry Fink met with Starmer, BlackRock are buying everything up on the cheap. And who owns BlackRock? Well, Vanguard and State Street.
The same people, they all own each other. It's like a
and who owns them?
Circle jerk. Nobody really knows.
Yeah,
they all own each other. It's quite remarkable actually, and we've got nothing really left to sell off to these people to keep this whole thing going.
The farmland.
Well, farmland, healthcare. You keep saying revolution. I'm past revolution now. I want rebellion. Well, a revolution just keeps going round and round in circles. If you ask me, I want rebellion. Honestly, I think George Carlin was right all those years ago. I think the longer time has gone on, the more right he has become. I don't advocate it for it, mate, but honestly, I think the only thing that will change it now is massive bloodshed.
Well,
they're not letting peaceful resolution be a thing. So, and if you don't allow peaceful resolution to any problem, then violent revolution is what's going to come next. And you're bringing it on. I'm not advocating for it, but you people, you're bringing it on. Eventually, something's going to happen and people are going to snap. And if you fuck about with the food system, what was it Stalin said? You're only 3 missed meals away from a revolution in your country. Once you start messing about with the food supply in you're bringing on your own downfall. I actually look forward to it. I'm almost welcoming it. And we're always like, come on, what more are you going to do to these people? Because eventually they're going to snap. And it's usually the most innocuous thing as well. They usually push and push and push and push and push. And then something happens and boom, before you know it, hundreds of thousands of people have got pitchforks and they're ready to take it down. Do you know how the Peasants' Revolt started? The Peasants' Revolt started, the state were taxing people to high heaven. And, it was all for wars, obviously. But they were taxing people to high heaven. And all it was one taxman took a liberty with, I think it was a butcher's daughter, and put his hand up her skirt. I say all it was. I mean, it's pretty vile. But that one thing, that one act, was the thing that started the revolution, because people found out about it. They went over, and I think they killed him, and then they went to the next town, and the next taxman they threw out of a window. And they got the towns together, and that's basically how the Peasants' Revolt started. And I'm waiting for something like that to happen. I'm waiting for a policeman, some copper in this country, or some person who's in authority, maybe an MP or a lord or one of these people, to take a liberty in some way, and it spark off a rebellion. And I'd look forward to it, because honestly, I think that's the only thing that will change these people's minds. The only time in our lives when the people have got any significant change, it was when power was scared. MLK with the civil rights movement. What the women were doing, the suffragettes in this country, they were shit scared of that, and they were just throwing themselves in front of horses and stuff like that, But it really made an impact, and they got scared, and that's when change came. And right now, they're not scared. They're just not scared, and we need to scare them.
The other thing, Gordon, that makes a difference and has been successful is tax rebellion. bit./lawful tax protest. Legal tax protest, legal lawful tax protest. That has a noble history of success, and then people get to keep the money in their pocket. bit.ly/make war history. Little plug there. Didn't do that in our last video, so I was going to be promoting that.
Everyone really should.
Well, I put it as a little trailer on all my political videos, right? But I need to update that to something a bit more spicy or new. bit.ly make war history. Takes you to a website where you can download a trust form and legally withhold your taxes. And that applies to any money in any form that the government collects. So, yes, but I mean, what else is there to do? I mean, for me, with the injections, with the mandates coming out, it's like, okay, there's no way I'm having that. There's no way I'm having that. That was my red line. So at some point, right, we will all confront our own personal red lines and more. And as we get hungrier and poorer and colder, and we keep talking and communicating with each other, more and more people will wake up. And I promise you, Gordon, this will fail. It's going to take a few years, but it will fail. Now, one of the things, right? I was reading this article by Alex Craner, and
Very good. It's very, very good.
yes, absolutely, it's worth.
No, I think I did a podcast with you, didn't I?
Did you? No,
I think I did.
that was Tom Luongo. You mean?
Yeah, I think Alex was on that as well. I think it was the four of us.
No, Alex wasn't. I don't think. No, it's just us. Anyway, I don't remember. I thought it was just you, me, and Tom. But anyway, because I recorded a video with him yesterday with Alex Christoforou, and a couple of weeks ago with Tom Luongo, and then on Saturday, the 26th of April, I'm doing an X Space on the CoinRepublic.com, which is a crypto news website, and I'm going to be asking him about collateral. And he published an article today, which said that the EU and the UK are facing bankruptcy because it's pretty clear that Ukraine's lost. It's just a matter of time, and the US has made it really clear they're going to walk away unless there's some ceasefire, which they'll negotiate, which will be on Russia's terms largely. Ukraine's got no cards; they got nothing.
It's so pathetic, well, it's like I listen because I have to keep up to date with the propaganda. In the morning, I flick through the TV, the BBC News, Sky, whatever. I can take about 10 minutes of it before I have to. And I kept it there, and they were all on point. They were all like, well, they're looking at a peace deal, but the peace deal they're saying Russia can't keep Crimea because that would reward Russia. It's like, so what happens at the end of every war? The victor to the victor the spoils, right? You went to war with a country 10 times the size of the one that you were backing. 10 times, I mean, in power-wise, more than 10 times. A nuclear-armed country of which there was absolutely zero chance of winning. And now, at the end of the war, you're saying, well, we can't reward them by letting them have the territory that they took, like happens in every other war in history.
Like
no,
Northern
that
Ireland?
would be rewarding Vladimir Putin, that would.
But do you mean like with Northern Ireland, the way the English rewarded themselves with Northern Ireland?
These people they're vampires. They have absolutely no reflection whatsoever. They do not understand how regular people actually look at them and go, you are cuckoo. The way you have been backing this war from day one. I remember a 6-7 minute segment that this one geezer on BBC did, the explanation of how the war between Ukraine and Russia happened. Did you know what word he didn't use once in 7 minutes? NATO. Can you explain the war between Russia and Ukraine fairly and unbiased without saying NATO? It's like trying to say, I'm going to explain to you the Apollo 13 mission without mentioning the moon. But no, they're still going along with this rubbish that it was an unprovoked attack by Russia. It was unprovoked and it was an act of aggression. And it's like your own goddamn prime minister has come out and said, it's a proxy war. It's a proxy war between us and Russia, and it always was. And we have basically led those Ukrainians, 500,000 of them, to their deaths in a meat grinder. Why? Because money. Money, that's why it was good for business and the arms industry. And we all foolishly thought that America was going to back them to the hilt, even though every single time in history, America backs out on the deal it makes, and this mess is left. Just look at anywhere else they've been, such as Afghanistan and Iraq and Libya, etc., etc. And it's the same thing over and over again. And people now have got the information. People know that this is the historical fact of the matter. But these people on the TV, they're still going along with it as if we've just got to say it enough and it'll be true. Well, that's very Talmudic of you, isn't it? Eh? We've just got to keep saying it over and over and over, and it will be. Goebbels warned us about this, didn't he? When he said, you tell a lie often enough, it becomes truth. He wasn't talking about the German propaganda machine. He was talking about the BBC.
Yep.
But people will put up to it. They put up with it. And I'm sorry, I've done everything I can. I've got on the streets and I've shouted and I've screamed into a camera for 7 years. And now I'm just going to watch this because it's crazy. This is like the best episode of television I've ever seen. This is nuts. It's crackers.
Do you know, it's not true. I disagree with you about something you said, Gordon.
Oh, what?
that people know what's really going on. Too many
Some people do.
Some people do, right? But like some people still think that Jeremy Corbyn is anti-Semite, and then some people think that Russia's attack was unprovoked. They really, really do. The consumers of the Guardian and the BBC, they actually believe that dimming the sun. That's good. That's good. We should dim the sun. Yeah, kill the cows, stop plants growing. Yeah, we should do that. Some people are on their umpteenth mRNA booster. Oh God. But it's worse than that. It's like the ties, the importance of Ukraine and Russia. It's not about. It's worse than what you said. It's critical for Britain's survival, for the survival of the imperial elites, and the same with the European Union, because the banking system, our entire monetary system, relies on collateral. And what they wanted is the Russian collateral. And they haven't got it. And they haven't got it. And this is something I learned from Alex. They can't leverage up money.
So what's going to happen? There's going to be a crash then, is there? If only there was somebody who for 7 years has been screaming that very thing into the camera. If only there was a British guy who'd been screaming that very thing in the camera for, I don't know, at least 5 years. If only. That guy would look like Nostradamus.
Well, every single fiat currency, over 3,500 of them has collapsed. And then this cycle where you have increasing inflation because of increasing money printing, going to war, trade wars, hot wars, that repeats in history. That happens again and again and again. So that's all that is. So yes, and I'm like,
the financial system died in 2008, and it's been kept on life support ever since, with endless money printing backed in nothing and wishful thinking. Yeah. And that's the truth of the matter. That's actually what happened in 2008. The banking system, the global monetary system died, and it's been kept on life support ever since. And if you just, I mean, how many trillion now does it go up like every 100 days or something like that? Every 3 months there's an extra trillion in debt. God knows what ours is in this country. I mean, I think they've just hidden the figures away. And
there will be hidden figures, just like what USAID, NGOs, and you know about the magic money machines. Doge has found in various US departments magic money machines. Now these are, I assume they're computers that just create dollars out of nothing, but they're off the books. They're not coming from the Treasury or the Federal Reserve. I mean, I mentioned this to you. Didn't I speak to you about this last time?
No.
Okay. Imagine you and I.
Brand new information.
Secretly managed to crack the Bitcoin code so that we're able to create more Bitcoin without anybody else knowing.
Oh, that would definitely put us in prison.
Not only if they knew. Listen, we'll just take a little bit. Just a tenth of a Bitcoin, Gordon. Go on. Here's a tenth of a Bitcoin. I'll just take a little bit now. Got a tax bill coming. Oh, no, not paying tax. Want to buy some food or want to buy a new bicycle or a car or something. Just a tenth. And then a few months later, just another tenth. Wife wants something. It's so tempting. So they found these. No, it's not possible with Bitcoin. Anybody's watching. Just can't do it, right? But you can do it with a digital fiat currency. So Doge just found 14 of these magic money machines where departments have been creating dollars off the books, and then they boost their own spending. There's one department, I can't remember what it was, a massive, they hundreds of millions of budget, right? And a tiny staff, and they hardly did anything. How tempting would that be? How addictive would that be? I tell you, right? Because you're my mate, and then you start running your own magic money machine, and then you tell your brother, and he'd start running his own magic machine, or he'd come to you and say, "Listen, we're a bit hard up. Can you spin off another Bitcoin for us?" Sure, all right, because you're my brother, and nobody knows. And the longer it goes on, the greater the temptation. Got away with it for 2 years now. Maybe do it for 3 years. Maybe do it for 4 years. Hey, nobody's noticing. Lavish lifestyle.
We've done it for 5 years and we're in for 10 million quid. We might as well go for 20 million.
Might as well go for 20. I'll tell some of my other friends, right? Why keep it to yourself? So it grows. Now I reckon there's probably going to be more of these magic money machines uncovered. And then we could have a situation where there's 10 times, 50 times, 100 times more dollars in existence than are accounted for, which means the dollar will lose value straight away. And then if it's happening in the US, Well, why wouldn't it be happening in another country? The temptation is too great.
Do you know why the US came off the gold standard?
Yeah, because of the Vietnam War.
Yeah, because
the war brought them out.
they were found out to, on a global scale, they found out that basically they were issuing money for gold that they didn't have.
City of London. City of London.
You know,
Issuing gold certificates.
Everybody know it's happened before. So,
Yeah.
What comes next? That's the worry, isn't it? What comes next?
So,
CBDCs.
well, if the collapse happens soon enough, if it happens before everything is in place, that saves us. It'll be horrible, which is why people should get gold, Bitcoin.
Well, they've been working on CBDCs for years now. I remember little Rishi Sunak when he was Chancellor, back before anybody knew who he was.
And
still know who he was, but
the European Union plan to launch theirs in October. But given that they're rushing it, given that they're trying to rush everything, given that more and more people are waking up, given how well government designs projects and how complex a CBDC would be, chances are it's not going to work. It'll get hacked. It won't be smooth sailing. And then also people will, I think, will develop alternatives. There'll be a black market.
This is what I'm hoping. This was always right from day one with regards to CBDCs. This was my argument with you. If people don't like it, they don't have to use it. And a currency only has legitimacy if people use it and people believe in it. And if people don't believe in it, then they won't bother with it. And if people can use a different currency that is untraceable, that gives them autonomy, that gives them privacy, and still allows them to be in control of their own finances, and it's backed by belief, because that's really all a monetary supply needs, is belief behind it, then people will use that. Unfortunately, there's already one of those. And you can imagine that there's going to be many more of those that are being used. I don't envisage a system where there's thousands or millions of these coins in use like there is now with cryptocurrency. I can see it shrinking down to
some that'll be dominant, like Bitcoin and Monero and Pirate Chain and stuff.
I mean, they'll always have their uses, especially if they are subroutines of other systems, etc. But that was always my argument, and it's just going to be a case of them trying to stop you exchanging CBDCs into another currency where they can't track you.
Well, I think more than that, they got to get all the surveillance systems in to keep us in this control grid, so we can't have a parallel economy. So then we got to if the collapse happens before all the structures are fully in place, tried and tested, hey.
They'll rush them in and there'll be a revolution, and then we'll see heads rolling.
That's right. 15 minutes before they get the 15-minute cities in, before they buy up all the houses and sell them off to BlackRock, right? Before they impoverish us completely. There's something going through in Ireland, I think. I don't know if it's a proposal or a bill or whatever, but about property being owned for the public good.
For the public good.
Yeah.
For the greater good.
The government will take people's property for the public good. Well, that's state ownership without democratic accountability.
Some of the worst atrocities in history have been done for the greater good.
Yep. It's for your own good. And the magic money machines, I just thought they're a bit like you said about 2008. It's a bit like a booster, isn't it? It's had loads and loads of mRNA monetary boosters, right? And the patient is finally dying to too much toxicity from all those boosters over the 16 years later or something, right? If my maths is right.
Yeah, 17 years now. 17 years since the financial crash.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was brewing before. It was brewing before. Now, I know you did a little video, a little comment. I watched that on TikTok about some bloke snogging some other bloke. I haven't looked at private eye. I can just imagine it, a little column there, bloke snogs bloke.
I started the video off with, listen, I don't know whether this is AI or not. And I'm all the way through the video, it's like, I don't know whether this is AI. I'll just tell you what I know and what's out there. And the amount of people who are like, I can't believe you've fallen for this. I'm just saying, whether this is AI or not, there's a lot of smoke here about his private life. And personally, I don't care who he's shagging, but this does go down to trust. This is a trust issue. This is a major donor to his political party that we're talking about here, that the rumours are about. And that's what this comes down to. It's trust, and it's just as we always expected. It's like, if you're in the know and if you're in the right circles, then the rules and the laws don't apply to you. And this is the very thing that Keir Starmer and the Tories said that they were. Keir Starmer, there's a Freudian slip for you. Keir Starmer and the Tories, Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, they said that they were going to change. And this sleaze with the lockdowns and the parties during lockdown at 10 Downing Street, they were going to put an end to it. And now we find out, he's partying it up at this penthouse in Kensington, run by this very rich lord.
Yeah,
I don't care if the rumours are true about him and him having this. I don't care. I really don't.
I do care. Not that he may be gay or bisexual. That I don't care about.
He puts him out for bribery and corruption, that sort of thing, doesn't it?
Because he's not public about it. He's hiding. He's pretending to be something that he's not, which is what Keir Starmer has done all along, pretending to be a human rights lawyer that he's not. He doesn't care about human rights. Pretending to be Jeremy Corbyn's friend. He doesn't care about that. Pretending to be for Brexit. Pretending to be for the poor and for the elderly. He doesn't care about that. Pretending to be for the British people. He doesn't care about that. He's destroying us, impoverishing us.
Pretending that a man can be a woman.
Pretending that a man can be a woman and not all women have cervixes. Pretending to care about Muslims. He doesn't give a fuck about Muslims. He doesn't give a fuck about anybody apart from himself and perhaps whatever bloke he's slugging at the moment.
Pretending to give a shit about the Pope dying. Did you see that? If the Pope was a member of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer would have kicked him out for his anti-Semitic remarks in saying that he's kicked people out for saying less than the Pope has said publicly about Gaza. That's the truth. If he was in your party, you'd have booted him by now.
Yep. Yeah, pretending to care about freedom of speech and basic human rights. Pretending to care about the Ukrainians. He doesn't care about the Ukrainians. He's responsible for the slaughter of hundreds and thousands of them.
And they knew that was going to happen. It wasn't as if they don't understand how a military engagement is going to go down. They game planned this out all before, so they knew that hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians most likely were going to die. And the one thing I knew about Ukraine before the Ukraine war started, the one thing I knew before I started getting involved and listening to the tape of Victoria Nuland and Nancy Pelosi's son on TV over there going, I'm just here to talk about soccer. Oh, really? Really, are you, Paul? I'm sure you know everything about soccer, right? Nancy Pelosi's son. Anyway, before I knew anything of that, the one thing I knew about Ukraine is the women outnumbered the men quite considerably. In fact, Ukraine was the European Thailand for going over and getting a European bride, somebody with blonde and blue eyes. Well, now you've got absolutely no fighting age men or reproducing age men in Ukraine, very few of them, because they've all been sent to the front lines. And now I heard that he's going to start kids movements and arming kids with rifles. I thought, well, it doesn't sound like the Hitler Youth at all, does it? And you've seen the videos of them grabbing people off the streets as they're riding down on the bicycle, and literally people who were refusing to go to the front lines and fight in this proxy war getting buried alive by people who they knew that this was going to happen. So don't try and when they try and kid me that really they care about the Ukrainians and the Ukrainian people, they couldn't give a shit. They never could give a shit about any of these countries, and they never will. And it's a stain on our history. Because, like I say,
well, I don't know, Gordon. You got to say another stain.
Another stain on a history. I was going to say, like I said earlier, if there is this crash coming, Rich, and you are right, and I've been screaming this for 5 years, so who knows whether it's going to happen or not. If there is this crash coming and there is this great reset, if you like, and there is a change to the world order, then we're going to need some friends. We're going to need to start reaching out to other countries and start creating alliances with other countries based on trust. And who's going to trust us after what we've just fucking done in Ukraine and Palestine and how we've backed Israel to the hill? Who's going to trust us?
But Gordon, the we that you speak of is not you and I. It's the imperial elites. They'll be gone.
No, they won't.
Yes, they
They
will.
won't be gone.
Yes, they
They
will.
won't be gone at all. They'll still be there. I mean, whatever
No, they'll be gone.
it is. Not unless it's all.
We're moving to a decentralized world. They'll be gone. Decentralized media, decentralized money. They'll be gone. How do you control a decentralized system? You know, they haven't been able to. Bitcoin is built on the BitTorrent protocol. How many millions have they spent to stop BitTorrent and stop file sharing?
They never could.
How can you stop a decentralized protocol?
They never could.
Yeah, you can VPNs. There's a mathnodes.com, and if you wanted, maybe you and I can do a video about this, right? You can download a decentralized VPN from mathnodes.com. It works on Windows and Linux. It works on mobile. It's free, some of the versions. So if they stop GitHub or they stop the Apple Store or Google from using VPNs, or a country outlaws VPNs, well, you can download a decentralized VPN and then run that. And you can run you can run the Maths-Node, or it's also the Sentinel.co VPN, DVPN. You can run it on a laptop from your house. And then you can earn cryptocurrency just for running it, just for giving bandwidth to the network. So you've got these little nodes of this decentralized VPN all over the world. Okay, well, they come along, you shut off your laptop, they shut down your laptop, but there's a guy down the street who's running the DVPN off his laptop. How do you stop that? You go to another country where VPNs are banned, and then you might you download the APK file before you go to that country, you upload it to a private email service. A decentralized one is skiff.com. There's Fastmail, which is not decentralized, but it's really good. Just have it in an email, a draft email. You go over to that country, you access your email. Nobody knows you got on that email. It's not Google. You download it onto your laptop. You've now got a DVPN on your laptop. You can pass that APK file to somebody else in that country. And then if you're in Britain, you download that DVPN. Or in France, you download that DVPN. Well, VPNs are still legal in France, right? And then you can watch Rumble, because Rumble's banned in France.
Yeah, Rumble's banned in France.
Because of democracy.
Yeah, that guy, he's got some balls, he has, man. He's got some balls, that Macron. I've been doing videos about...
He's got no balls. His woman.
His wife has, apparently.
His wife has got balls.
The French tried to pay... What's her name now? The black girl, Candace Owens. They wanted to pay her, I think it was $1 million a year for the rest of her life if she would not talk about Macron's wife.
Wow.
For the rest of her life. They offered to, we'll give you this money, just don't talk about his wife, ever again. And she obviously didn't take the money because she's still talking about it. Yeah. But I've been doing videos about Africa a lot. Yes. And I've been talking about Burkina Faso, which I've been fascinated with for years now, ever since this guy, Ibrahim Traoré, came to power.
Is it 3 years ago?
3 years ago now, yeah. And what he's done in that 3 years is amazing. He's totally revolutionised the agricultural industry. He's totally, he's made education free for up until university. He's increased people's wages by 50% while reducing the wages of the government by 30%. He's, took control of the gold mines, but not just the gold mines. He's now producing gold bars in the country. And obviously, all of a sudden, when he's been doing this, all of a sudden ISIS and Al Qaeda show up like clockwork. He kicked the French out. Obviously, the French were taking all this gold off him for decades. And I heard Macron basically say to this guy, after decades of France stealing all this wealth from Burkina Faso and keeping, they're the fourth biggest supplier in Africa now of gold. Right, and this guy, they're saying that he's paid off the debt of the country and everything in just 3 years. It's remarkable what he's done, among many other things. And Macron said he should thank us. He should thank us. He said gratitude is not ingratitude. What was it he said? Gratitude is not contagious or something like that among humans. And this guy was like, Ibrahim Traore was like, see, he doesn't think of us as human. He's just insulted the entirety of Africa. He doesn't think of it. And he did it on stage with a microphone in front of him. Came out and said, this guy should thank us, the leader of this country that we've been stealing from for decades and keeping our colonial boot of the oppressor on their necks and keeping them down and obviously, cracking down on any insurgency with a iron fist. No, and that obviously he leaves, and now all of a sudden ISIS and Al Qaeda are the problem, and they're obviously funded by all these non-governmental organisations which get all their money from governments. How that can be a thing, I don't know. But it's remarkable that this is happening over there, and I'm worried, as are many people in the world, and mostly Africans as well, because they remember what happened to Thomas Sankara in that country. They remember what happened to Patrice Lumumba in Congo. They remember what happened to Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. And they're worried that the history is going to repeat itself here. I have high hopes. I have high hopes that this is going to continue because the cat's out of the bag now with regards to him. And one of the reasons why they crush these movements very swiftly is because of the threat of a good example. As Chomsky used to say, you get one country that does it and makes it a success. All of a sudden, it starts to spread elsewhere. It's one of the reasons why the Americans could never let Cuba be successful in what it does because it's so close to America. But I have high hopes that it's going to continue. They've created an alliance of the Sahel region with Mali and one of the other countries up there. So I'm keeping my eye on that. But the way we in the West treat these and have treated these countries and then say, oh, they should be grateful. I'm hoping that our diplomacy going forward in the UK is somewhat better, but I've got a feeling that it won't be. I keep saying us in this country. I don't feel like it's me anymore.
It's not you. You're not one of the British imperial elite. Yeah. I sense that about you right from the start.
Yeah, I am a Brit, and I do love my country.
That's fine in terms of race, ethnicity, and nationality, but don't ignore class.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it?
You're not the rule. You're not one of the British ruling class. You're not the British imperial elite, and neither am I. We're not of that body, right? That demographic. So it's not us. It's being done to us because what empires do when they finish cannibalizing foreign people in foreign lands, they start cannibalizing their own, and that's the gift that Keir Starmer and those that back him, those who are pulling his strings, are bestowing upon us. We are being cannibalized.
He's pulling his strings. Somebody's pulling something. I bet you.
Yeah, London, City of London, all roads lead to
pulling something of his.
Sorry, all roads lead to London. It's
somebody pulling something of his, and I don't think it's his strings.
I got it. Yes. The man with no honor. The man. Now,
he certainly was an honor.
Yeah, and then Burkina Faso are getting friendly with Russia.
Yeah,
which makes sense. And China, which makes sense for protection, but also Russia and China aren't. They're not exploitative in the same way that the European imperialists have been.
China it's mutually beneficial for China because of their Belt and Road Initiative to actually act fair. Because if they act unfair with one country, it messes up the whole supply chain. So that it's in their. I mean, it's in their constitution, in their laws, that they can't go around bombing other countries and doing all the things that the West does. This is one of the reasons why they haven't dropped a bomb anywhere on anyone for 40 years. And in that time, they've literally. I mean, in my lifetime, when we were growing up, which China was a third world country, right? It was one of the poorest countries on the planet. And now look at it. They have left us in their dust. We are decades behind them already and losing ground every single day that we are carrying on with this system that is just eating us alive right now. I saw a great quote by David Graeber the other day. He said that what is the economy? The economy used to be something that we structured to take care of everybody in society, to make it work for us. Now people talk about the economy like this. It's this mystic being to be protected above all else. And if that means we've got to die, we must protect the economy. It's way more important. You know, I'd say
protecting
just
is financialization.
Dead.
No, what they're protecting is financialization.
They're protecting their own power and their own privilege, and
which relies on, I think, financialization. That's what Thatcher did, destroyed British industry and gave us financialization, and that can't last forever.
It was a great idea to sell everything off. You know, I mean, look at what she did to the steel industry. That was wonderful. She sold their steel industry off, and look at it now. Oh, that's right. We've had to buy it back because it was running to the ground. Look what they did to the post office. Isn't the post office great? They privatised that. Oh, wait, no, it's a load of shit. You can't get a letter in 3 days for less than £5 anymore. Look at what they did to the water companies. The water companies now run like clockwork. Oh, no, wait a minute. They're pumping shit into every waterway in this country. And this is all because of privatisation. This is all because they sold it off to companies who literally cannot survive unless their primary target is to make money. Unless they make money, they can't survive. They don't care about whether it's a good product or whether they give us a good service or not. If you want evidence of that, go to Virgin fucking Media for your internet service and then try and speak to their customer service. They don't care about you or the service you're getting. They only care about the money that they're getting and whether they can make a profit for their shareholders. And this is basically the situation we're in now. The Birmingham City Council have basically sold themselves off to the point where they're going to be selling off properties now to private business because they've got nothing else to sell off. This is...
So what's this bin strike? Why is it going on? Because you're near Birmingham.
Because they won't pay the binmen. They won't pay them the wages. And meanwhile, they've spaffed all this money on up the wall on DEI hires and millions on charities that were, you know, LGBT charities and all this sort of stuff. It's gone basically everywhere that it shouldn't, apart from the people who literally are keeping the city running in the morning. So they won't pay the bin workers a living wage. They can't actually pay their stuff. So they went on strike. And it just piled up. And there were rats the size of cats, apparently. I mean, you know, it is Birmingham, so I don't know. That's a joke, Birmingham. Don't. Come on, I'm from Wolverhampton. You take the piss out of the time. But you see what I mean? I mean, you know, personally, if it was me and they went on strike here, I would have rounded up the neighbours and got us all into some sort of routine where we actually support the binmen and get rid of our own rubbish. You know what? Maybe we could go and put it in front of the Labour Party constituency office or something like that. That's the sort of thinking that I would have. But I don't know. Apparently, the people of Birmingham are very upset about it. If you listen to the news, they're very upset about it. But I'm betting if you go to the people on the ground, they're like, "No, we're fine. We're fine with it. We back the workers. We want them to get paid a decent wage." And that's what it all comes down to. They were even thinking about bringing the army in at one point, but they can't do that because they're all undercover in Ukraine and Gaza.
Being blown up. But there's something else about that, about the bin and Birmingham, because many councils are going bankrupt. And here's why they're going bankrupt. It's deliberate. The government are doing it deliberately because then they can say the structures for local authorities aren't working. We need to create new structures. They call it devolution, but actually it's centralization because you move the power up into larger authorities which are run by a mayor, which makes it easier for them to be captured. The problem with local authorities as they're currently structured is they're far too democratic. You could run as a councillor and be on the council body with 500 votes? That would do it. And now you've got a voice and you get a say in how it's been run. Well, we can't have that. We want to remove decision making from the people. And the other thing that I think is going to be in the devolution structure, and if not, they'll bring in at some point, are people's assemblies, which will essentially be little EU mini structures run by appointed, interested, nominated individuals, not accountable to the electorate. But that's where the decision-making power will be. They got it all worked out, Gordon. They got it all worked out.
They've decided, right, okay, this system isn't working.
No, they've decided to break the system deliberately
break the system. Okay, they're going to break the system before we do it, but it collapses.
That's the Cloward Piven strategy.
So they're going to get, or going down in flames, as I like to call it, to take for
they're going to set everything on fire. It's the Cloward Piven strategy.
And then they've said, right, okay, we've looked at everywhere else in the world, and China does things the best. So what we're going to do is the opposite of what they do.
Well, we'll do what the European Union does. I interviewed a candidate from the Rejoin EU party, councillor candidate. Second time I've been on. I'll talk to anyone, Gordon. I've reached out to loads of these climate change people, right, and say, look, come on, Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion. Come and have a chat. Come on, let's talk. None of them have replied. None of them have. Actually, one of them did, and then she came back and said, no, can't do it. They're not a grassroots organisation. So Rejoin EU, I thought, great, I'll have a chat with them. And it was a great conversation. We didn't agree. I still stand by Brexit. But like you and I, it didn't get personal. We stayed to the point on content.
Yeah.
But I said to him, and I'm saying to you, Gordon, the EU's going to be gone before the end of the decade.
I don't see any hope for the EU or NATO, for that matter.
Yes, indeed, and I hope, that I hear noises that Trump's going to pull out of NATO. I don't know how reliable those noises are, but I do hope. He did increase the budget, give more money to Israel, pulling the troops out of Syria.
Here's a request then, Donald, Mr. Trump, President Trump. Let's be respectful. Here's a request: when you pull out of NATO, can you take your 11 bases that you have in the United Kingdom and take them home? I was going to be rude then, but can you take them? Can you close them as well, please? Let's be respectful. Because let's face it, why do we need 11 United States bases in this country, Rich? Who are they protecting us from? If not protecting us from them, if they don't put 11 bases in this country or we don't let them. Because let's face it, we're not under any threat really from Russia or the EU or anybody in Europe. France aren't going to have another try at the UK. Why have the United States got 11 bases in this country?
Because the US is the UK's hired thug. It's because everybody says, oh, the UK is the US's puppet. But if you look at UK-US relations right now, the UK is pissed that the US is not doing its bidding. It's not, otherwise, if the US was in charge, the UK wouldn't be supporting the Ukraine-Russia war. That's what's got exposed. It's the city of London that have controlled the US, that want control of the US, and Donald Trump wants independence from the control of the city of London. And that's why the Britons are pissed off with him, because he's not doing their bidding. And I've said it to you before, the UK are the ones in the shadows pulling the strings, and Trump has said, sod you, you're not going to pull my string or my plonker.
So either way, those 11 bases might actually be closed down then.
Yeah, and then the UK is screwed. The UK is screwed.
I don't care which one of us is right there.
That's right. The outcome is the same either way, right?
I don't care. I'm just going to grab some popcorn and some donuts and just watch it happen.
That's right, because the UK, the British imperial elites, rule by proxy. And the US, Trump has said, I'm not going to be your proxy anymore.
For the people listening, I know that this has maybe been a little bit depressing to hear, that everything's going to ratchet. All I will say is this, don't worry about it too much. I find the best thing to do is treat the people that you meet and the people that you have in your life with as much love and respect as you possibly can, and you'll get as much back. And that's what I think we all need to remember. I think we need to be kinder and nicer to each other on a local level, and that will solve a lot of our problems. Because right now I can see many people looking to the government for help and for guidance as to, you're not going to get any help and guidance from them, but you will from your neighbour and your friends and your family. So that's where to look for. Yeah.
Gordon, what a lovely thing to say. That's such a lovely thing to say. Do you know kindness is good for the person who's being kind?
Infectious. I'm not kind to people and nice to people for any other reason than I'm being a selfish bastard. Because it makes me feel great.
does, it does. I remember when I was living in London, right? I see some mums with a pram struggling up and down the stairs before there were lifts everywhere, right? I put on my bike out, stop what I'm doing, help her up. Because it makes one, I would want somebody to do that for my mum, right? But also it makes me feel good. Just not bad. It helps the young mum out and her baby.
We need more of that, mate.
Good. Kindness is good for you. And
Jerry Springer, he was a smart guy, I tell you. Take care of yourselves and each other. There's a reason that was his catchphrase.
Yep. The other thing, Gordon, might want to do this to finish up, right, is gratitude, expressing gratitude.
Yeah.
Because our default is, oh my God. So, there's this, right? And the thing, there's actually a book I read many, many years ago called Kindness is Good for You, written by a biochemist. And he talked about how acts of kindness release all these feel-good hormones, and it's good for our health, our physical health. And he said expressing gratitude. And we could do this, right? What he said, what you should do is express gratitude to another for 2 or 3 things that happened in the last 24 hours. And then for 2 or 3 things, or one thing that you're looking forward to in the next 24 hours. Because doing so, you're always expressing gratitude for something newly. Because I'd always say, I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for my wife. And then I get habituated to it. But if I express something newly, and I can still express something newly about my wife or something, right? But I'm not getting habituated. Do you want to try it?
Yeah, let's try it.
All right, so I'll do it first, right? So I am grateful that when I come home from work, right, the train, I pop into where my wife's business, and I didn't expect to be there. And it's really convenient, and I go and have a 20-minute nap. So I'm grateful that when I went there, she was still there. It was a lovely little surprise. I'm grateful for that, right? I'm grateful that she took my bag in the car back home. So I was able to cycle the 3 miles uphill without the bag. It's much faster. I like cycling that way, right? So I'm grateful for that. And then there's a particular family that I'm working with, and I'm grateful for the support that I'm getting from my team and my manager with regards to this family, because it's quite challenging. So I'm grateful for that. And then what am I looking forward to? Well, I'm going to go and do some work with my wife again tomorrow morning for half the day with her business. And I just enjoy her company. I'm grateful for that. And then the other thing I'm grateful for is I get raw milk. I get raw milk. I drink raw milk. I get it from a local farm, and I'm grateful for raw milk. And then I make kefir from it, which is from raw milk kefir is really good. Much better than that shop bought rubbish. And then of course, Gordon, I'm grateful for your beatific smile as I express gratitude, and for our conversations.
Thanks,
They're
brother.
different each time.
Thanks very much, brother. I appreciate that. What am I grateful? I'm grateful for my mum, who I look after. I'm grateful for her and everything she's done for me. I went round there today, and she's still sharp as a whip at 82. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I've got an e-bike, so I don't have to cycle uphill like you. I can just jump on my e-bike.
And Wolverhampton is flat anyway.
And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that next week I'm going to see the missus, because I haven't seen the missus for a while because of one reason or another. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm really looking forward to that because she's amazing. And I'm grateful for the area that I live in as well, because it's really, although I live on a council estate, and it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think it's a lovely place to live, and I'm very grateful for the fact that I've got a roof over my head and food in my belly, and I can basically do whatever I want when I want, because that immediately puts me in the top 4% of the planet right there, just that I've got those things. So really, I'm grateful that I'm kicking life's ass when you actually think about it.
That's great. Fabulous.
And I'm grateful for you and your smiling, beautiful face, you beautiful man. I'm grateful for our talks. I really do appreciate them, and I look forward to them whenever they're scheduled.
Well, we'll do it again soon. And for anybody who's watching, you want to put in a comment, what are you grateful for? Come on, share a little. Share a little.
Absolutely.
That's some humanity here, because it started off really badly.
Right.
I'm grateful we finished like this.
I tell you, if you want to make a change, look in the mirror.
Yep. Gordon, thank you. Links for our stuff in the description below. Please share this far and wide. And we look forward to speaking to you all soon. All the best.
Thanks, buddy.